Welcome to our Insight series on organizational well-being. Our question for this week is, what are typical goals of a workplace wellness program? Number 33. In answering the question of what are the typical goals of a workplace wellness program, we need to remember that goals generally don't have measurable or time-limited elements to them. So as we look at some examples of what those typical goals are, the first one deals with the issue of our employee wellness program will significantly improve the level of employee health. And we can define employee health in lots of different ways. We'll be getting into that in more detail in later videos. Second example is the program, meaning the employee wellness program, will reduce the future growth rate of employee health-related costs. And that can just deal with the health plan cost or sick leave absenteeism or issues of workers' compensation, disability insurance costs, or presenteeism-related costs. The third example of a goal that's very typical for workplace wellness programs, the wellness program will reduce selected health risks for employees. And that also is a way for us to really measure some of the more quantitative elements that reflect on employee health. A fourth example is the well-being program or wellness program, we can call it either of those, will save money for the company and for employees and spouses. So that also can become a goal for us. The fifth example of a common or typical goal is our employee wellness program will significantly enhance the average level of employee productivity. So there we can address the broader issues, perhaps subjectively defined or objectively defined, depending on what our type of business is. The sixth example that we want to look at is the program will produce a high level of satisfaction among employees and their spouses. And here we generally are using some sort of index that allows us to get a quantitative reading on the level of satisfaction among employees and possibly their spouses. The seventh example of a goal that's typical is the wellness program will improve our level of retention of employees. That's keeping employees, and significantly improve our recruitment of new employees. So we can in fact design instruments to collect information to help us evaluate these specific goals and issues. The eighth example of a typical goal is the employee wellness program will contribute in a measurable way to creating a culture of wellness for our organization. So that gives us the opportunity to use some sort of measurable process to look at the strength of the culture of wellness in our organization. A ninth typical example of a goal is the wellness program will help slow the growth in future workers' compensation case incidents and costs. And workers' comp essentially deals with the injuries and or illnesses that are work-related. A 10th example is the employee wellness program will help improve the level of employee morale. And again, we just simply need to use a standardized instrument and the consistent instrument used in a consistent way to measure these particular issues. The 11th example of a typical goal is our employee wellness program will help reduce the level of employee sick leave absenteeism. So again, we have measurement issues for that. And our last example is the program will help improve the health and healthcare literacy of employees and their spouses. So in summary, there are a number of possible goals that an employee wellness program might utilize. These goals can cover a range of management concerns and can be prioritized by senior managers. So we have options involved in virtually every one of these goals in terms of how we state the goal. But these are an example of a dozen fairly common or typical goals for a worksite wellness program. Now, for more information on this topic, put the following search strings into your web browser: typical goals of employee wellness programs, typical goals and objectives of wellness programs, why employers implement wellness programs. Next week, we'll address the question, how can we prioritize our wellness program's goals? For more information on this topic, please search on the web for the WellCert program.